stopping the team. Other than the fact that, again, it's an all-star lineup and egos could crash and they could all just, it could be an all-star lineup that just burns down to the ground like we've seen in the past. But I think they're experienced enough. I think the players have all kind of they know each other very, very well. Skylar's not a new guy on the block. He knows them. They know him. They're kind of close already. So I don't really think that'll be an issue. That's me assuming. The thing that I have an issue with, that are concerned about, is the fact that, Adi, CW, and Paddington are now coaching. So, yeah, that's the only thing I can see stopping this Onic roster from being the great that is Prime Onic again. We might actually see a better version than Prime Onic with this lineup, because always, back in the day, even though CW was amazing, don't get me wrong here, CW was always amazing. He was always that, a amazing gold laner for the team, because he just fills in the role of whatever the team needs. Skylar's got that dog in him. I've said this a billion times from season 9 all the way to season 14 when Skylar, was active. He is my favorite gold laner, Indonesian gold laner. He's been since season 9, or actually he's been since season 8. And I think it's time for him to finally show what he's got internationally. Because really, if you're Onic, I don't think you're going to be looking at regular season. I don't think you're going to be looking at MPL ID. This is kind of like an SRG situation where they know what this lineup is capable of, and it really comes down to how they perform internationally later. Let's move on to the next lineup, which is Dewa United, and we are going to be seeing kind of like the same-ish lineup. They are trusting the process, which I like, especially when it comes down to trusting process on maybe. Now, Itoshi Kesu and Spencer were the two players that they added into the lineup last season towards the end of the season. They've decided to leave Itoshi Kesu and Spencer to still focus on Mueza and Octa. Octa, I would say, is very, very questionable. Aside from a few good performances on Lunox, he's been very average. Vans still being in the lineup is weird because Ray is just so much better. They do have a few reinforcements. So they have Mark in the XP lane. I believe I'm circling Mark here. They have Coach Wright and Acheng as the analyst. So Coach Wright and Acheng. And they apparently also have Chin. Kin is a really good XP lane from the matches I've casted for him in some of the collegiate leagues or the study leagues. He's really, really good. He always caught my eye. So again, I think Kin's work visa hasn't been accepted yet. That's why he's not in the lineup, but he will be in the lineup, I believe. So yeah, we'll see how he does. We'll see what he can do. This lineup looks like a solid mid-table team right now, but obviously maybe is the guy that I'm going to be looking at for the most part in the season. He had an amazing debut in the season 15 regular season, and I think he's one of the players who can actually, jump up to superstardom just because he's good. He's really, really good. I rate maybe a lot. I think he's a good gold laner. Let's see how he has progressed, how much he has improved, and how much the rest of the team has improved, because, again, question mark about Octa for me. Mueza, solid, but also very inconsistent. I would put them mid-table, B tier, probably somewhere in B tier. Geek Fam. Oof. I think I'm gonna take back what I said about BTR, because this is the second place, second S tier team, not BTR, because of the experience, and literally they've stuck with the same lineup. The only thing that they changed is no Chidera. They've replaced Chidera with Zeltron. Zeltron is going to be the substitute gold laner. They always seem to just have a substitute gold laner from the past. It was Marky, Chidera, and now last season it was Kenzie and Chidera. Now it's, I think, Kenzie as the main man for the team. So yeah, no changes at all. Literally, even the coaching staff, Dora, DSP, and Bluffsy are still in there. There's a title change, but the roster has stayed the same. This team, I called them making the top 3 all the way from the start of the regular season, just because I think they have really good components. Makid's an amazing jungler. Maybe, I would actually put him at number 2, right below Kyrie. I think he has the potential to be number 1 this season. So we'll see how that, how it works out. The biggest problem for Geek Fam last season was just the inexperience of these members. Gobs, Makids, Kenzie were inexperienced. And when they threw the game, when a boy threw the game against RQ in game number 2, they kind of just lost morale. They lost everything. The composure was out the window. Discipline was out the window. Everything. The mental state was gone. So with that learning curve, the very harsh lesson that they got up against RQ, this should be a lineup that is now experienced enough to be like, okay, we know how it feels to tilt. We know how it feels to deal with tilt. And Yeah, it was one of the rare scenarios where a boy actually fumbled, and he doesn't usually do that. This guy is still a top mid laner. I really trust him. Beloyski, we don't need to talk about him. We know what my thoughts are about Beloyski ever since season 8 when he qualified for M3. So, yeah, I think this is number 2 lineup in Indo, and I think unlike the previous seasons, unlike season 10 all the way to season 14, or sorry, season 15, they've always gone through the same arc of doing really shit in the early parts of the regular season and then doing really well in the end, just because they always have different lineups. Season 10, they had a completely different lineup. Beloyski just entered the team, so they needed some time to get going. Season 11, they swapped up the lineup again. Luke's debut came in, right? And again, they had to walk back up very slowly. This is also when a boy came in. Season 12, they had a few changes because Niall came in, and then season 13, they had Ray, and then season 14, they had Vincent, and then season 15, they had May Kids. So they always have changes in their lineup. All right, even losing Luke, right? Playoffs kind of team, they're right there. Araki Hoshi on the other side. Oof, I'm a fan of Araki Hoshi's plan. Aside from the fact that they still haven't changed their jungle, and I really think Hazel should be the main jungle. I don't know why he's out from to Aero again. I actually do know the reason, but I can't tell you guys. Yeah, they still are keeping the main 5 from MSC from last season. It's still going to be Toy, Sutsujin, Dairon, Edog, and Rins. This is probably still the main 5. But they've added Rez and fuck, I forgot his name. Let me just tap. Zunesh, yes, Zunesh. So Zunesh, they've added Zunesh and Rez. What does Rez and Zunesh add to the team? A lot of people on the internet, especially Indonesians and RQ fans, the Kingdom, have been saying like, yo, why the fuck would you add Rez? Like, Dairon is the man. You know, he's the best XP in Indonesia. Why would you put a substitute in for him instead of like Rins, who's been underperforming, a Toy who's been underperforming MSC? I understand. Dairon is the main carry for RQ. I still think he is. I still think he is the main factor with Edog. These two are the engine of RQ, the engines of RQ. But Dairon is so good on playmakers and carries that it just feels like a waste every time you want to play a high-lows comp, every time you want to play a composition with Gatot Kacha, every time you want to play a composition with the XP just being an enabler. He isn't really the best choice for that. Rez, on the other hand, is. It's kind of like a Lutpi and Rez situation. Lutpi is great on carries, but Rez is amazing on enablers. If he's there just to set up the team, I would say Rez is the better option. So maybe they're going to try to swap around this playstyle of RQ. They've seen how, again, they've reached really high heights with Dairon and Edog, but maybe to truly enable Rins and Toy and Tsutujin, they might need an enabler in the XP, playing safe picks. Kind of like a Kirk and Sanford situation. Where, Kirk is great on enablers, Sanford is amazing on carries. And the fact that they've stuck with this lineup, I think, is great, because in the past, again, I need to keep on bringing the history for this. Why? Because in the past, RQ fans have always complained when they swap out rosters every season. They're looking for instant rewards. Everybody's like, why the fuck would you kick Arcadia? Just trust them for a bit longer. Why the fuck you kick Irad? Why the fuck you kick Brusco? Trust the process. Now that they're trusting the process, it's just strange to see the fans still hate on them. They're doing what you guys have been wanting this team to do. Trusting the process. And yes, trusting the process can be really stupid when there's no process. When there's no one at the head of the process. But you've got Keskute and MM, dude. These, right now with Yeb's departure, this is the best coaching staff in Indo, with Yeb being out. Keskute is the best coach in Indo with Yeb being out. Yeb was the only guy who was like there above Keskute, in my opinion. Even in season 14, when RQ lost to Liquid, I still rate Keskute. I really rate this guy. This guy is really intelligent. He's an amazing coach. He's the guy. Keskute is the key. Again, as usual. Now let's see what he's able to do this season, because this should be like, the big season. It's the 3rd season, so he has to perform. He has to maybe win. Second place isn't really the best record, but it's a good record for the fact that they added so many rookies in season 14 when Keskute joined the team, and they went second place instantly. AP Brand had to go through so many no playoff teams, so many choke into playoff teams before they got a world championship team. Trust in Keskute. Next team, Team Liquid ID, very, very disappointing lineup in my opinion. Why? Because in the ISF lineup, they already kind of revealed what the plan is going forward. Fabian and Aaron weren't in that ISF lineup. Aaron and Fabian have constantly been streaming the last few weeks. You know, if you're an avid watcher of MPL, of, you know, just MLBB, you know that pro players do not stream close to the dates of MPL just because they have to scrim. So many, you know, they have to scrim, they have to practice, they have to do all that. They have been streaming constantly, and they are not even part of the ISF lineup, which leads me to believe they're just here for show. They're just here in the lineup just to be like, okay, in case this lineup doesn't do well, they're still there. Aran, Kabuki, yeah, so everyone except for Aaron and Fabian will be the real lineup here. They're just kind of like the shadow figures, I feel. Kabuki is back, which is very, very weird. He's great. He has the mechanics, but his hero pool last time we saw him was very whack. So he should have improved a lot in the last 2 seasons where he didn't play, because Kyo did amazing last season in his debut. You know, for the fact that Kabuki is here means that he probably will be the starter. Yeah, I'm personally going to be banking on Kabuki being the starter, at least for the first few games, and then we'll see how he performs on stage before we see Kyo again. I'm not a big fan of this lineup, though. I trust Witty, Yeheski, and Aran, but I don't think they're going to be enough to really just carry the team. Just 3 of them, you know. Joe is a new jungler from MDL2. They've done really well in the past with MDL junglers, Gogo and Fabian, and now Joe. So I guess we'll trust them in that part. But yeah, this, for me, looks like a team that might not make it to playoffs. Or might just, you know, be mid-table. So let's move on to the final team, which is, by the way, this is the wrong one. The final team, this is the wrong one too. So hard to find, man. And okay, final team. I'm not even going to bother to play the video because they have Oyen here. This is the best player of all time. Oyen, they're all lane guy. Yeah, honestly. So it's the same lineup. Rin, Hijume, and Nino. They've kept them. They've replaced, and Arfi. So they've kept the 4 players from last season. Alec is the new roamer. Dreams is now out. Alec is in. Alec is Owen. You guys probably remember him from season 14. He was very bad in season 14, but then he had time to develop in MDL. They actually won MDL last season. So Alec, who's Owen in the past, now he's Alec. The question mark's on him. Can Alec do well in MPL? Can he perform to the level that he did in MDL in MPL? The other big question mark for this team would be their coaching staff. Zephyr. Can Zephyr be the real head coach this time? The last season, they still had Nafari in, and because they had Nafari in, the reason they had Nafari in was because Zephyr wasn't really too comfortable. He still needed to learn MLBB, he still needed to learn how to draft, etc. So that's why Nafari was in. Now that Nafari is no longer in the lineup, this leads me to believe that Zephyr is comfortable drafting already, fully taking responsibility for everything. So let's see how they do, because this is a lineup that is in some positions capped. I think Hijume and Rin, we've seen the best of them, and Nino, but our Evos are in a weird spot right now where they want to trust the process, it seems, with some of their players, but they also want to play it safe as fuck. And the safety of it is not really safe. Like, when you play safe like this, you end up risking more. I'll just be brutally honest with you. I do not rate Roundel. I don't think he's a good mid laner. Swaylo is last season pretty horrible too. So having these 2 mid laners as your only options, it could be regarded as safe. You know, they have a layer. So if Swaylo doesn't perform, they can always go to Roundel. But it's like swapping an egg for another one. It's not a change. It's not like swapping an egg for an omelet. You know, it's a raw egg with a raw egg. I don't know why I chose an egg to, you know, use as my metaphor here. I was just thinking about eggs, all right? So don't question me. Erlan is, in my opinion, I've been saying this for so long, one of the gold laners in Indo who actually has the potential to be the man. He's got that dog in him. Every time he performs really well. Every time he doesn't, obviously, he's very inconsistent. That's the big problem for Erlan. But Evos have never given this man a proper chance. Evos have always taken him out of games. I remember, I forgot what season it was. I think it was season 13. He played 1 game, and then they lost the game. He had an amazing performance in that game, but the team lost. He got swapped out after 1 game. Then he proceeded to just play MDL the entire time. Evo's Icon were doing really well with Tsutsujian and Erlan both carrying. He came back to MPL. He only got a few games again. He came back to MPL last season, finally. And by the way, if you guys don't know, Erlan is Doma. This is the guy who we've been talking about for the longest time. So it's the same guy. He just changed his name. Last season, first 2 weeks, amazing performance. Clutched it up against Bigatron, was the main reason they won for stealing that Lord with Key. And then he had one bad performance against Araki Hoshi. One. Okay? Maybe two. All right, two. One really bad performance against RQ. One average, below average performance against Dewa, I think it was. And then they decided, you know what? Let's swap it out. Let's get Brands back in, who was at the time retired. The guy was just, taking a rest. And Evos didn't make it to playoffs. If you're not gonna make it to playoffs, if you don't have a sub that's like just so much better than your gold lane here in Erlan, why don't you trust them? I don't get it. Why does one game against a big team like RRQ, who made it to top 2 back to back, impact the roster that much? Yes, I know the netizens were all hating on Erlan. Everybody was like, oh yeah, Erlan's the reason they lost, blah, blah. Here, Evos, big message, or just a message to you. Skylar was horrible in Season 7 when he debuted. He was, again, pretty mid, average, below average in Season 8. That's why Zin was playing for RQ, not Skylar. Season 9 was when he truly performed. You gotta trust these rookies to perform. And if you continue to do this, you're fucking destroying this guy's future, bro. This guy has the potential. Trust me. I've caught like crazy players with my eyes before, and I've always been right usually when it comes to like players having that potential. So please trust me. Trust me on this, okay? This guy is amazing. Please. The rest of the team, though, is very safe, I would say. Albert and Key, veteran, Chorizo as well. It's not a lineup that will bring you like flashy plays all the time, but it's a consistent lineup. It's a solid lineup. Now, for me, the biggest coach, I'm not even going to talk about Bravo and Dojo because I don't know I don't know them enough to really talk about them. Who I do know is Vin. Vin is a great captain. Like when he was shot caller for RQ for BTR, he was really, really good. What's the problem with him? He's very emotional. That could be the downfall of a team. Like for his teams in the past, it was the downfall. I hope he's matured in the time that he's been gone from MPL to now be the coach, head of MLBB. That takes a lot of responsibility. That takes a lot of emotional, EQ. You need to have good EQ to be handling, kids, and especially considering the team is mid and jungle. Okay, so if it is true and Dorian Ukir actually comes through, I think they actually have a pretty good roster to make it to playoffs. If this is a rumor and it ends up being false, I think we're putting Na'Vi all the way down as they were last season. So yeah, fucking weird, super freaking weird. Next up, we got Bigatron Alpha, or Bigatron Esports now, no longer Alpha. Again, always with an amazing lineup, but they just don't have that clutch factor. I don't know. Whenever we can come to playoffs, the playoffs performance is always kind of mid. Regular season, they're always amazing. The rosters have always been amazing for this team, and it's very amazing this season too. Moreno is still here with Finn and Eman, but then they've changed everyone else. They've added Niall, replaced Annabelle. They've added Shogun, replaced Luke. Luke is now a streamer, in case you guys are wondering. And they have a jungler, Ron, as just a substitute. So 6-man lineup. I like it when teams don't have that many players in the team, because then you can really see them trust the process. They can't really change too many things. And again, I'll have to say, in terms of just lineup quality, this team is up there. This team is top 3 in terms of lineup quality. But they've always kind of been top 3 roster-wise, lineup-wise, on paper for the longest time. Bigatron are a team that are always good on paper. But I guess they can't read, because it doesn't matter how good they are on paper. They never seem to, really click and do too well. They max have gone to grand finals of MPL. That was season 7. Yeah. After that, the best finish was season 14, 3rd place. Season 12, 3rd place. Everything else has been fucking first round exits, stuff like that. They have made it to every single playoffs though. And again, when it comes to this lineup, I like the fact that they have Moreno and Eman. They've kept him, and they've stuck with Finn, because I think these 3 were really, really good from last year. Luke was very shaky when he was good. He carried the team. When he was meh, he went 0-7 or 0-8 with Lucas and Hilda. Shogun, big question mark for me. How is he going to perform? Niall, even though he's new in the team, and obviously there should be questions raised about how good his chemistry is going to be with the rest of the team, I think he's already really, really good. I mean, for me, there's no reason to doubt him. The 2 times that we've seen him play in MPL ID, at least when he had the full, when he had to play full seasons, he did amazing. He qualified for M5. He then carried Alter Ego to a playoff spot. So yeah, not going to question Niall. Big question mark is on Shogun. How is he going to perform in his first season in MPL? Is mental going to be an issue here? Because if not, then I think this team is really, really good. Now, the second doubt that I have for this team would be the coaching staff. Bam and Airpong. Let me try to find Bam and Airpong, their post here. Where's Bam and Airpong? It should be up here. So, yeah, okay. I can't find it. But yeah, their coaching staff is Bam and Airpong. Those are the 2 new coaches who will be coaching Bigatron Esports. Now, what do we know about him? Not much. All right, here it is. I'm sorry, I was blind. What do we know about him? Not much. For Bam, he was the ex-coach of Aero. So Aero did make it to playoffs, did have like a couple of really good games against SRG2. So I'm really interested to see how Bam can do with this team now that it's I would say a better team than the team that he was coaching for before. Airpong, he's proven. All right. M5 with GFAM, top 2 with Homeboys last season, and now he's in BTR. Hey, this is a dream come true for me. Really rate Airpong all the way from the Geek Fam days. So the fact that he's now BTR, he's my GOAT now, is great. So yeah, big question mark is how these 2 will work together. Obviously with their analyst, Barbosa. Barbosa is still in the lineup, I believe. I don't know why he's not in the post, but yeah, I guess because it's a welcome post. So that's the coaching staff. Big question mark for them because last season we did have a big question mark for the coaching staff too. When E2 Mac came in, Tazzy had to come in, Theo Nile had to come in. They had to just shuffle the roster of coaching staff everywhere and it became a mess. So yeah, right now, if I'm being honest with you, I'm going to rate this roster at I would put like B or A just because they haven't performed the previous seasons with a good lineup. But again, if we're just looking at it on paper, I think this is probably the second S tier